Aloha! It's 365 Hawaii.
With Eric and Julie Zemelis, and behind us is Halemaumau crater here at Volcanoes National Park.
And it's right about to go off for episode 35, but that is not why we're here.
We're here because, you know what, a lot of you have said from our last video about kind of like the spirituality of this island. We wanted to talk about what is it that makes people feel so at home here, and why do they cry on the plane when they leave?
Yeah, so the energy of Hawaii, what it feels like, and what's going on, and why is it different than any place ever else? So we're going to delve into that today, and you'll get some answers.
Right. So my intuitive people, listen up.
Okay, so to start this video off, we thought we'd start what I would consider one of the more spiritual places that we've been to on the island. And we are in the Ka'u district, and we are down here at a sort of secluded bay down by Black Sand Beach or Punaluʻu.
Right, and so one of the reasons we brought you here was because actually, especially if you've been watching Chief of War, Ka'u is where you see all the Hawaiians on the lava. This area is basically known for recent lava flows. But the Polynesians actually discovered South Hawaii first, because that's the first point that they're going to come to when they're coming in from Tahiti and the Marquesas. And so we know that this coast probably had the most, obviously ancient Hawaiians. And also what you're going to see is they built a heiau on top of a cliff over there. And this place just carries this just almost like a somber feeling.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot because spiritually it has kind of a, you think that it would be this joyous place, but it has kind of it's kind of flat, slightly, I don't say dark, but just definitely not the joyousness that you would see normally in some of the other places on the island.
Yeah, in fact, so we have a story.
Yeah.
So for our fans who watch all of our videos, you might know this area and this beach from a video that we had done previously about an incident that happened up to us a couple years ago, where we definitely had a spiritual experience. Okay, so we're going to paraphrase this and not go deep into it, but if you want to see that video, I'll link it below. But
yeah.
Eric, why don't you tell me how it happened?
I'll start. So
okay.
First of all, when we came here, it's interesting, and there's an altar almost to come in here. Once we got past it, you're like, whoa, that's kind of eerie. And so we come down here, and it's still got this kind of this unusual feel to it.
Right.
So I'm walking down, and we're right over here on the beach over there, and all of a sudden I get this feeling, and it's like somebody slapped me on the back and said, "Hey, Eric, my friend, I haven't seen you well." Not in Hawaiian and not in Italian, but just letting us know it wasn't in any particular language for me. It was something that I could understand, and I was kind of like, wow. And it was like feeling of this old friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and he kind of conveyed that, I haven't seen you in many years, and it kind of got the feeling, and this is my interpretation, is that I might have been on this island before,
and on this beach,
and this is what it was about. So for me, it was a really powerful thing, and you could just feel this person just sitting next to you, but there was nobody there. It was welcome, and I'm not incredibly psychically in tune, so this was it was pretty profound when it happened. So when that happened, I was going over to tell Julie what the heck was going on, because they were over here behind us in the tide pool over there. So why don't you continue on what happened over there?
Okay, so while I was over in the tide pools, I had before that had found a rock along this rocky shore here, and it was actually a cinder. Cinder rock. There you go.
Similar to this one. This is not it, but this gives you an idea of what it looked like.
Yeah, so
right?
It was red cinder, and it was the perfect shape of an egg. And so again, if you look around here, it's mostly dark brown, black, all this stuff. So finding a bright red egg-shaped rock was pretty interesting. So when I picked it up, okay, when you guys are kind of intuitively inclined on this island, when you do something, like when I picked up that rock, I kind of heard, don't forget that, don't take it with you because it's disrespectful. I can hear these things. And so I said, I'm not going to take it with me. I just want to hang out. And so I took it over to the tide pool over there, and I thought it would be kind of cool to find an Easter egg in a tide pool, Easter eggs. And so I put it in there, and then I walked away from the tide pool. And then when I got to about almost where we're sitting right here, the egg was on the rock. And I'm like, what the heck? And that's exactly when Eric walked up. And because I told the girls, I'm like, did you guys just go in the water and remove that egg that I just put in the water? And they said, no, I swear to God. And just like today, there is nobody here. And so that made me say, what?
Yeah.
And then...
So my friend that I was connecting with while I was here, he says, we did this to sort of show you the difference between the physical and the non-physical. And that's, again, going back to this video, is kind of a difference in Hawaii, how thin they kind of become here. And this is what we're trying to get to.
Right.
Is that here was an example of a physical item that all of a sudden got somewhere else. And it was the same thing. And we know that we didn't take it over there. So how did it happen? You know what I mean? And this is one of the more of the all paranormal things that have happened. I would say that's definitely pretty amazing when something can move 100 feet and show up on you.
Right. And so for my intuitive and metaphysical friends, they basically have said that they can move it behind the wall and then they put it back in. So it's kind of like they'd say here, the veil is thin and you don't have to actually see a little rock being carried by itself. But that basically it just leaves from one place and be placed in the other. And we're also doing this video because quite a few of you have said that you feel an energetic experience when you come to this island. And I kind of like tap in and go, do you find yourself to be intuitive? And so people who are intuitive will walk onto this beach and at this bay, and they will feel that there is something going on here.
But,
and
I was going to add a little to that, but it's not only have to be at this beach. I mean, all over the place. A lot of people have this connection, this feeling that there's a sort of almost a higher energy here that it is. And when you come here, you feel so good, and it's so warm, and it's inviting, and that's why a lot of people cry when they leave. Of course, is because it's sad to leave this this protective, strong space.
Right, and we've talked about this in different videos, but this one's going to be a little bit more into this is it. That there is an energy source here. I used to dabble around in this and talking about this for 10 years. And there's an energy source here, and it vibrates. And there is something that's happening here where some people feel connected to this, like kind of like this vibration that's going through their body that they know somehow that they feel like it feels good. And what some people say is, I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
Right, when they're here. Mm-hmm. And some people on the other side hate this feeling, right? And they go, I don't know why I don't feel good here. But interestingly enough, there are places all over this island. And again, if you've seen Chiefs before, this is a very, very violent experience that many people died here. And I think that, like we talk about this, sometimes their spirits are still here protecting the island and the spaces that they left.
Right. And so what makes this space particularly interesting is the fact that this has been a closed off area for a very long time. It wasn't until probably 5 years ago or less that it became actually a county park. And before that time, it was only private and only a few people got to come here. What is interesting, though, is the thought behind this is that since this is where the Hawaiians had been for such a long time, their energy kind of wears. And since there hasn't been too much modern and
he means people trampling all over the space.
Yeah, the new people trampling all over. It still has a lot of the old feel that it does, and that's what makes this place particularly so interesting. Is the fact.
Yes, they've left their energy here, and it hasn't been diffused, you could say. And so we didn't know any about this. And then also, I did a little search on explaining this a little bit more to you guys in terms of basically the protocol to move in, to come in here to this space, and that you ask for permission. And then I asked specifically about this space, and it said it is very sacred. And we didn't know that, we just felt it.
Just because we don't really discuss this very much in our videos, but I want you guys to know that when you come into a place, especially if it's a sacred place, what Hawaiians call vahipana, is that you ask for permission. And there's a protocol that the Hawaiians have of asking for permission, especially when you're going into a deeply sacred space. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of information here. One of the things that you're doing that for is because you are showing spiritual awareness and respect for the land. And what you do with that is the land is a living ancestor, not a backdrop. You're entering the domain of Akua, which are the deities, the Amakua, ancestral spirits, and the Li'i, chiefs, connected to this land. This awareness brings humility and mindfulness. You're not just visiting, you are entering into a relationship. Pause before you're entering. You observe the wind and the sounds and the feeling of the place. Ground yourself. You're asking for permission. Traditionally, one asks permission, not as a formality, but as an act of respect. There are several ways this can be done. You can do an oli, which is a chant, and it's the most traditional form of requesting entry. The most common is the oli kahea, a chant that asks to be let in. A guardian, a kahu, or representative of the place may respond with an oli komo, which is granting permission to enter. So your unspoken intention is, I humbly ask permission to enter this place with respect and good intention. So say that, go into spaces and kind of just like feel the mana, really. And we're going to go into the space, and we're going to be doing that right now.
When we had a chance to go up to the heiau, there's a doorway and there is a big word that says kapu, which means don't go through. And I was heading towards it and I definitely felt this do not enter. And I know that the people who understand that feeling that you get this like literally it's almost like a physical pushback. And so when we were talking about this to a few of the people that we've talked to about this island, they've had instances where they too felt like as soon as they walked somewhere, they knew they didn't belong there. And so I think that if you have, if I'm telling you this and you said, I felt that too, now you know where it comes from. It basically is the energy, and especially those people who were in those heiaus, and they basically, when they wrote kapu, it was definitely like that they left this mark of like, do not enter with them.
Right, and this kind of goes back to this night marcher idea that a lot. And the night marchers are people that have taken a vow that says, we're going to protect this even in death. And that makes it so interesting because even to this day, they're there and they're here. They're here right now.
And again, when they're probably listening to us right now. When I first got here to Hawaii Island, I heard about night marchers. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're here long enough, and you hear stories, and you hear the hauntings, and you hear the things that move and are in your way, and are they break. There's something going on. And so we all know that something's going on because the people who are intuitive feel it energetically through their system, right?
Yep, that's what it is.
And so so that was basically what we want to talk about. We're going to show you some different places where we feel it, but it'll be interesting to get your comments if you want to drop them below. Tell some stories too. I know that my fans who really feel connected to this island, and they don't sometimes always know why.
Yeah.
But they know they cry when they leave, and so we kind of are attached. We're talking to you guys.
Yes,
So,
and so we'll continue this discussion along where you got a few more places to go,
Right.
and just to show you what some thoughts for this. And we're doing this again because not very many people talk about the energy side of Hawaii. Everybody talks about it's easy to talk about the beaches, it's easy to talk about, but the energies that's a different thing. So
Right.
we are going to see if we can dive in and help you guys out a little bit.
Right, and we have been encouraged by people who come to the island and watch our videos, and also we get energetic kits for the fact that we're supposed to be sharing this information with you. So if you're listening to this and you're gotten this far, this message is for you.
Okay, can you guys hear it? I would say it's the sound of quiet, but it's not really the sound of quiet. It's the sound of no man-made sounds. It's the sound of birds and the sound of a forest. It's good.
Right. So one of the reasons we stopped you on this trail down to Kīlauea Iki is to kind of talk to you a little bit about forest energy and as Eric says, plant energy in general, because there's definitely, you're going to feel that on this island as well.
Yeah, living things, and they too. You know what I mean? I know that you get them also. We also get it when we were back in California. The sequoia redwoods are definitely a good example of that. But it's also here, and all of that, it just gives you just a sense of calm, and it just kind of smooths everything out.
Yeah, it makes you feel peaceful. Remember when we walked into the other place at the beach? You guys walking into this forest kind of makes you feel that feeling again, and where the reverence comes in, and just feeling grounded and just taking a moment to kind of breathe, listen, feel the makani, which is the wind, and knowing that we're going to go down into a very spiritual place. So we're taking that moment. Let's go. Hey, so when my daughter was in 5th grade, it seems like a very long time ago, and she was going to school at Kona Pacific, where they actually teach Hawaiian culture, we had a field trip here. And so we had about 22 of the kids come down here, and they stood like right here, and they all stood in a circle, and then they did a Hawaiian song, and their beautiful childish voices rang out among this entire area. It was chicken skin, and it was absolutely spectacular. And what a way to show respect to the sacred area. So it's like a choir, but out here on the caldera.
As you can see, we are here on the bottom of Kīlauea Iki. It is a lava lake that has fallen, I'm going to say probably 30 feet from where it was originally. And it's just a great, I would say, a sort of a warm and spiritual place.
Right. In fact, when I was here a few years ago, there actually was steam coming up from these cracks, and they're not so much anymore, maybe because there's so much energy like right behind us down at Halemaumau. But one thing about being down here, you guys, is
You definitely feel there's something special. And one of the things Eric and I were talking about is we actually did some research on why this island is more energetic, you could say. And they say that energy comes from crystals and from different kinds of like
silica, to be
silica,
which is what crystals are made up of silica. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that silica is obviously in the lava.
Right, and silica makes up lava too. So that might be a kind of a one explanation on why the Big Island has such good energy is it is mainly comprised of silica.
Right, and so I'll tell you guys, I was talking to a bunch of scientists one time about this, and I was talking about there's a special energy here, and I was talking about some of maybe the other, interesting reasons why it's energetic here. And I said, well, a lot of people move to South Kona because they feel the energy's here. And this guy's like, oh, that's not true. People just move there and then they just think that there's something special there. I'm like, no, they got there first with a special feeling to South Kona. And then I said, there's a listening station on the side of Hualalai, and there's a hum. They actually they can detect a consistent hum that's happening on this island. And the scientists looked at me like, what the hell? And so, you guys, seriously, there is something on this island, and you can check through the scientific aspect of it, but definitely it's more of a feeling than something you can actually tell a scientist, hey, there's something special here, right? And here you can feel it. This is you're on the floor of a caldera, surrounded by silica. I'm gonna call it, there's energy here. Okay, so besides elemental energy on this island, there's also the energies of what people left behind. And Eric and I we're gonna have two instances of negative energy and one of positive energy that is really cool. Do you want to start with the?
Let's start with the kind of well, it's not negative. It's a little bit darker energy as well.
Okay, dark energy.
And the one that struck me the first time I was here, in the first month that I was here, we went out where the old Kona Lagoon was out on the beach there, and
in Keauhou.
In Keauhou, it's just a little bit north of Keauhou, next to the Surf and Racket. And so we were there, and all of a sudden you're kind of like, ooh, it felt kind of creepy and weird and things like that.
Like it made you guys. It just made us say, we really don't feel like sitting here and hanging out.
No.
And nobody was there either. So it's kind of like, if this is a popular beach in Hawaii, you'd think there'd be more people there.
Definitely a very spiritually charged place.
That area, they built a hotel over the top of it. We used to be a heiau. They decided that after they took the hotel down, which was super haunted.
And it never really made it either. That was another one.
Yeah. The Japanese built it. It went into disrepair in the 90s, but it never really went anywhere. And we heard stories about people who were working in the hotel saying that crazy things, like they'd be walking down the hallway and the trays they were carrying would be flipped up back on top of them. And they couldn't keep their employees there very long because of the haunting. So what they decided to do was they tore the hotel down. In fact, they got rid of it. It had been sitting there for like 10 years. And then when we got here in 2005, they had just cleared it. So we never saw it actually up, but we saw the space that was cleared because of it. And building hospitality hotels on top of heiaus. So they cleared it, and today actually it's a cultural space.
Center,
and you can actually see that now. But the thing is that the caretaker they finally opened the sides up to the public, so you can walk down the side and get in front of the hotel and be on the beach, but you still cannot get into the middle part. That's a Hawaiian cultural space. But he was saying that they had some children that were there overnight, and they were sleeping there. And one of the little boys actually got up in the middle of the night, kind of sat up and started speaking fluent Hawaiian.
Chanting in Hawaiian.
And he had never spoken Hawaiian before, and everyone completely freaked out.
You can imagine sixth graders going, ah!
Right, and I asked his caretaker, I said, can you confirm, yes or no, that this place is very haunted? And he's like, oh, I might here after 5. He's like, I wouldn't come here at night. And so we had heard stories about drumming and chanting. And so if you ask people who've been here for a long time in Keauhou, and
right, Keauhou in particular is a very spiritual place.
Energetic place.
There's a lot going on there. Example, the outrigger right now. There's all kinds of stories of people seeing large footsteps, hearing sounds, and all that kind of stuff. That also takes place at the outrigger too.
Yeah, which used to be the Sheraton.
Yeah.
I talked to a very spiritual woman one time, and she said, well, you know how crowded Keauhou is. And I knew the way that she said crowded, it didn't mean people who might be alive wandering around.
Right.
She says that she could sense hundreds of people that, who had, been part of the villages there, still in residency. And
when I hear these from a variety of different people, I start to believe them. Those are the kinds of places, and I tell people, if you're intuitive and you're not too sure if you're intuitive, go stand on that
go
beach.
check them out. See how you feel.
Yeah.
You'll get it. These are the ones you're good. So now that's sort of the deep side of it. But there's also, a good side. And where do we usually go that's your favorite place?
Okay, so I love the old airport tide pools. And I have been able to kind of connect into spirit there. And that's actually where I got the kind of message about when I said I wanted to write my book. And I said, what should I name it? And I heard How to Move Your Kona. Keep it simple, stupid. So I'm like, okay. And when I first started talking about this stuff, we were thinking, is this Pele? It's spirit. I don't know. It's when I hear people channeling, it's a voice that you hear that sounds like your own, but it's not. And so I'm sure that there are people who are watching this understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, so one thing that we should talk about is that also what seems to happen in Hawaii is that the energy also seems to be amplified. It sort of like makes your feelings stronger, which can be good and could be bad, right? So you have the high highs and the low lows. And, for all our people that come here, I've noticed that, that it's either they're having the best time or things don't go well. And one other thing that always surprises me is example like, people that might be having trouble with their marriage, they come here and they're thinking that the island will smooth everything out. And if that's the case, it definitely is not going to happen. You know what I mean? If there's something wrong, it's just going to keep going wrong, and it'll go wrong faster than you ever had it happen before. So, but at the same time, I kind of think of it as it's like standing on a fence. When you're balanced, you're doing just fine, the fence is working good and you're feeling really good. And then if your feelings are slightly off and not in balance, then you fall off and then you feel like crap and you hit the bottom and all that kind of stuff. And then you have to climb back up onto the fence and kind of balance on that fence again to do it. So it's just something to think about when you come here on how do you feel about that? Is it, are you up? Are you down? Do you don't feel just average. It's always making you feel more extreme.
Okay, so when we first decided to come to the island, we decided that we were going to come for just a year and experience what it was like to live out here in the middle of nowhere on an island. And we did that, and we picked the Big Island, and we got here, and I didn't know that much about what the Big Island was all about. But I got here, and I've always been sort of an intuitive person. So coming here was kind of like wow, it had a feeling that I never had a connection to the earth in Sunnyvale or anything like that. The Bay Area just seemed kind of like a flat place. So we started coming to the caldera here, and I had heard stories that Pele would actually talk to people, and and I was like, wow, that is amazing. And I've been here 3 times, and nothing. I haven't never gotten anything. So on the 4th time, we were sitting across the way over there, and there was, I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be a little viewing area where you could actually stand on this little deck and look literally down into the crater. As I'm walking up to this platform, I hear this voice, and it was very strong and it was very distinct. And it says, "Do you think it's an accident you got here to Hawaii?" And I was like, and she specifically said this island, right? And I was like, wow, I hadn't really thought about that, that it was before. And then she said that, go on to say that you have been here lifetimes before, and that's why you're sort of coming home. And it was very powerful at the time, to think that, here I am, a guy from, the Silicon Valley, all of a sudden, having a connection with Hawaii. So I just wanted to see if any of you people had a connection to the island or the energies as well, because for us, it's, it's very strong. And again, that's kind of why we're doing this video, to kind of show that that there is a connection to it.
So here we are at the old airport, and this is like what behind us is what I've been referencing to is kind of like the keiki ponds here. And as you can see, people are playing behind us because that's what lends the energy of happiness to this space.
Okay, so here we are at the end of the video, and I just wanted to cover where we might be going next in terms of energies. And I know we live in sort of a tumultuous state right now where everything is happening in the world and things are changing and there's a lot of things going on. But I would just want to say that I have some high hope of where we're going as human beings and enlightenment. And this goes back to back for me, it was 1986, and it was a place called the Harmonic Convergence. And it was the idea that we were going to usher in this new energy that was going to come into this world. And me being sort of enlightened being, I'm like, wow, this is going to be great. In 2006, the world's going to change. Everybody's going to become good people. Life's going to be great. Well, that was that 40 years ago now? So that was definitely a long time ago. So it's not that I've given up on this thought, it's just the fact that it is just taken a while to get here, and now it seems like we're just trying to figure out how to move forward with this.
Right, and when we first got to this island, we had quite a few what we would call metaphysical friends, and they were talking about the fact that we are going to vibrate at a higher level and get more peace and love in this world. And Eric's like, this when? So I think that's another reason we're doing this, is because Eric's been feeling like something's been saying to him, share this information with people so that they have some hope. Right?
Yeah, and part of this is that, you know, making videos on energy is not the most easy thing. And, you know, a lot of people might consider us a little crazy for doing this. But I've definitely been the feeling, and the reason why I want to make this is there are certain things you just got to do. And this is one of them. And just to say that I think the world is going to change for the better. I mean, like I said, it doesn't quite look like that right now with all the things that are happening. But in reality, you know, the energies are shifting. The old energies are not able to sustain itself. Our old system of governments aren't working the same way. All these things are not working. So we have to look to the future. And part of it is, you know, in order to move forward, we have to let go of what we've got right now that's not working. And that's kind of where we are right now, which is a very, as the saying goes, uncomfortable. But at the same time, you know, if we can get that going and get something that works, then we can have a better system for all. And also, it goes back to that empathy for everybody. And if everybody has empathy for another, I think our government would be much greater. It's kind of like if we had a woman president, right, Julie? That would.
That's right. Yeah. But also this concept of showing kindness and love to one another. I'm working with a woman that's talking about how basically it all comes down to love for ourselves. When we love ourselves, we can put that out towards other people. And I think that with all this crazy that's been going on, I think people are being able to look a little bit more deeper into who they are and how they show up for this world as well. And we can see what life looks like when kindness is not prevalent, and how the energies around being, you know, in love is you know, I think the best energy you can have, right?
Definitely. And I look forward to when we get to this point. I mean, it might take a few years just to get there, but, you know, we've already been waiting years, so what difference does it make? And, you know, but if we can get to a point where, you know, everybody is on the same level and they have a connection to each other and they're not mean to each other and the whole world, I'm really excited to see where that's going to go with us. And that's kind of why, you know, talking about energies is the first step in getting that going.
Right. And we always talk about people who are kind of connected to the land, talking about consciousness rising, right?
Yep.
That you vibrate at a certain energy, one of love and light, and it rises up and brings other people in, right?
Yeah.
And it affects everything around you, right?
Yeah.
And when people even say they take aloha with them wherever they go when they leave the island, that's basically that concept of kindness and respect and love that then is shared in a ripple effect across the rest of the world and the country.
I like to kind of think that Hawaii is kind of one of the starting points that's a little bit higher places than other places. And if we're already here, I'm looking forward to see where we go in the future. It's going to be an interesting time moving forward.
Definitely. And we recently just talked to some people who were thinking about moving here, and they said, we picked you because you were on the internet talking about how we felt about the island. Yeah. So our favorite people are usually people who are intuitive and feel that they're connected to some manner of either they feel like they've had a life here before, or they feel like they're very happy when they get off their plane and they can't imagine living anywhere else. So those are the people that we really do like to help. And so again, if you know, we sponsor this channel. And if you want to learn more about the work that we're doing here, you can go to 365hawaiiari.com. Like we talk about the energy rising, I bring volunteers together to do amazing things for this island. And if you want to join and help us, please do so. We have our contact information below, and we hope that maybe this has inspired you in some manner. Please leave your information down below if you'd like to
and your comments about what's going on.
Your
too.
comments,
yeah, definitely. Okay, and I got one more thing to say. If you focus all on the good will appear. So it's one of those, we got to keep looking up instead of looking down, and it'll definitely make it happen.
Right, and go out there and show some aloha and some kindness today to other people, and you'll be amazed what you might get back.
And with that,
we say
aloha.